By convincing the Uichi to stand up to the Sue clan, Yoshishige had set the stage for both clans to be destroyed, with his father landing the killing blow against their devastated vassal family. On the larger scale, the same trick had prompted their allies, the Kikkawa, to go all out in a war with the powerful Matsuda, but when Otomo support did not arrive, they lost everything. Finally, Yoshiaki proved himself by defeating the Matsuda main force, leaving him with valid cause to reconquer the lands of his former ally in the name of his own clan. You multiply very quickly, I have noticed. Yes, mighty king. We sailed here on the invitation of Prince Yoshishige to save the souls of your new flock. They are no more than sheep after all. I mean to say, liege, that God watches over all of us through the faithful, his shepherds. I have no doubt. My son is rather enthusiastic that you get your work done. I need not even advise him against marching east, for it seems he will not move a muscle until there's a black-robed man on every corner. Not a sheep, but a dog, I suppose. Yes, second only to you, we are indebted to the prince's kindness. He is a most honourable man, my king. Honourable? You don't know how he got you here. At least that was something to be proud of. Welcome back to Barbarian Masters, where after wiping out the Matsuda's elite vanguard force, they want a peace treaty. Perhaps that makes sense, but it doesn't make sense from our perspective because we only stand to gain from the war continuing now. At the very least, we want to push on and take western Nagato province because that will secure the land route into Kyushu. And now that we know the enemy are very low on strength, we can almost certainly take some territory from them. So as the next turn starts, we move out. There were some survivors from the previous battle who've made it inside the castle, including some officers, so the enemy commander is actually better than Yoshiaki, unfortunately in this case, but he doesn't have that many troops at his disposal. Some of the garrison are samurai, so that's nice for him, but he doesn't have an advantage on the balance bar. Now, were I playing as any other clan, I would probably just auto-resolve this and take it, but I'm actually going to besiege it for now, because as the Otomo, since you need to Christianize provinces to stop them rebelling against you, there's no particular advantage to rushing and trying to take multiple provinces at the same time, so I just thought I'd siege them down and wait for my missionaries to catch up and get the Christianization going. However, the enemy quite kindly decided to sally out against me. So that's going to make life easy. We can just take this for pretty much no losses. Not that the losses in an auto-resolve with that balance bar would have been substantial because we're not facing any more battles in the near future. So losses are almost irrelevant as long as full units aren't lost, and auto-resolve almost never takes away full units as long as they're all at high strength. So the battlefield we got was really favourable. We had an extremely steep slope going up to where we've deployed here, and the enemy are tired already just coming into the fight. We can start shooting down at them here. They're leading with their Taichi Samurai, the upgraded version of Katana Samurai, and they're going to be annihilated as they approach. Very good news, because they outclass everything we have in terms of melee units. They tried to make a very sneaky attack on our right flank with a half-dead general. Not going to happen. Those Taichi Samurai just keep absorbing our missile fire. It would probably have been better to fire at something else at this point in the battle, but the micro just isn't there. I'd certainly get more kills per volley if I wasn't firing at a unit that only had 2 or 3 men in it. Anyway, they all die before they reach our lines, so that's good news. Our men will now retarget other things. Plus, the enemy are now really tired as they come in, so although they still have plenty of decent melee units. They don't have enough of them to do damage to us. We are very safe. Our firebombs disrupting the enemy as they come in doesn't do all that much damage, but it certainly looks good. It's intimidating remotely at the very least. I think matchlock fire is probably more effective, which would make sense because they are a later unit in the tech tree, but firebombs are just entertaining, especially when they wave them around their heads like this. That seems really dangerous. If one of those things accidentally hits the guy next to you while you're spinning it around your head, that could be devastating. But instead, the devastation is only for our enemy as we keep throwing the firebombs at units that are just coming into the melee. A little bit more effective than throwing it into the melee itself because you don't hit your own men, and while it's not really killing them, is at least making a contribution. So the enemy have a decent chance of breaking through against individual units on our front line, but we are pushing heavily on both flanks. We have a big numerical advantage, so we're just going to try and finish the enemy off. Here some Onobushi are going to be dueling with our Yari Ashigaru. They will almost certainly win that fight, even though we've got the downhill charge against them, so we do need to push on and try to support. I was just getting in there to stop them from firing their bows, because that's even more effective than their melee attacks. Big charge coming down the hill there, wiping out the enemy's right flank, and in the centre we finish off all of their attacking troops with more firebombs. Their commander here rushes forwards though to continue the fight. He is not intimidated by our army. He is going to try and fight it all on his own, and that's not going to work particularly well, as you might imagine. The rest of his force wiped off the map as we charge down the hill with everything to just turn everything into a big chain rout and get as many kills as we can, because a nice complete victory here will give us the castle, since it was a sally battle. A decisive victory. Things went well, and as I said, the only thing that could have gone badly was losing a whole unit in battle. That didn't happen, so effectively we lost nothing, because as long as the enemy don't have another stack right behind their front line, which we don't think they do, we'll get all our troops back. So that was a free victory, and we did indeed take the castle.
Lord Matsuda Nakamune, conqueror of the mountain circuits and rightful lord of Chugoku, sends me to offer truce. He will agree to respect the currently established border in Nagato for a period of half a year. He wishes to stress that his domain exceeds yours in wealth by some margin, and that his cause is supported by the Emperor himself. My lord, I have been asked to return with a reply. Please consider this offer carefully, my lord.
I'm not a naval man, but I see no reason why one would need both feet to work an oar. A one-footed oarsman would sell for nearly as much as any. Guards, detain this man, and separate from him his right foot.
Lord, please!
It will make a perfect reply, for while Lord Matsuda considers the war worthy of ending, I say that this is only the first step. I wonder if he'll work that out. With Western Nagato now captured, the question is, can we go on and take Eastern Nagato as well? And that's going to be determined entirely by public order. Public order is really, really bad if we don't have a full stack garrison in there. There's resistance to invaders, the normal penalty, but you get a gigantic penalty for being the wrong religion as well. So now we're going to try and stack up all the bonuses we can to see what that leaves us with. After putting a missionary inside and a couple of reserve units to garrison it, we get closer to something stable. I had another missionary that I'd recruited over in Suo. He can come over to help. We're still not quite there, but because public order will improve naturally over time thanks to religious conversion and the fading away of resentment about being captured, plus another unit going up to add to the garrison, I decided that next turn it will probably be okay. And public order only matters if it's negative for 2 turns in a row, so it's okay to leave it for now. And as you can see, we're moving on into Eastern Nagato, and as predicted, there's nothing here to stop us. They only had 2 units, and they've got a bit of garrison as well. We're going to use a classic Shogun 2 trick, and that is attacking with only cavalry while the rest of the army reinforces. This allows you to attack things that are just outside of the army's movement range, and the auto-resolve considers the entire army together, so there's no penalty for doing that, and we take it for essentially free again. There's a Buddhist holy site in this region which we can pay to convert over somehow to a Christian holy site. We'll have to do that to start securing our position, but right now things are looking pretty good in Honshu. Uno is taking the main fleet down to southern Kyushu because we need to go and pick up Kikkawa. He doesn't really need to be standing guard over Kyushu, and I've actually got another general to take care of that now who will show in the series once he comes into play. So we're going to bring him up to the battlefront. First, had to annihilate a couple of Saika Bokaboyas. No problem, but I had to do it myself to avoid the auto-resolve problem, so we just sink them. For some reason, when you get close to the enemy with the black ship, they just sail at it to try and board or get into bow range or something, and that makes it super easy to destroy them. So we take them down and continue on our journey. Kikkawa has been sitting in Kagoshima for a while in Satsuma province and has recruited some samurai for us, so we can bring those samurai up to the front line now to reinforce things, and hopefully that will help out. We get a peace treaty here from the Noto Hatakeyama. They've declared war on us for some reason, didn't do anything, and now I think they're losing all the other wars they're currently in, so they don't want to be at war with us anymore. Now, I considered going into alliance with them because they would agree to it, but they're at war with a few people already, and I thought getting an ally that's at war with a load of people probably isn't worth it. We're having enough problems with diplomacy in that regard already. We also get an offer of peace from the Matsuda. They're still weak, apparently, and we're going to reject it once again because we are kind of in a position to take a tiny bit more territory from them. What I wanted to see was whether they would give me any money for peace, because I was willing to be paid into taking a peace deal, but for whatever reason I've noticed the AI in Shogun 2, maybe just in Master of Strategy, is very, very unwilling to pay for anything. Maybe because it always uses all its money in this mod, I'm not sure. So we didn't get anywhere with that. Now what I'm going to do is move into western Iwami province. Now it's not really safe to do this. We are going to have public order problems. We have the same problem in East Nagato as we had back in West Nagato, but we don't have the missionaries and reserve forces to deal with it. So we aren't secure to do this. We're going to do it anyway, just because we have the opportunity, and because this castle's kind of close to Eastern Nagato, it would be pretty easy to go back if it rebelled. So it's a little bit safer than usual in that regard. We can try and hold down both the provinces with one army by going backwards and forwards. The main reason to take Iwami there is that it gives us an extra border onto the Mori clan. So we do need to deal with these guys. They're a major clan, they've got a big army, and they're right there. And with these two borders, we can now potentially attack them from two sides, Yoshiaki from the north and Yoshishige from the west. There's the public order in Nagato. Very, very bad. We're almost certainly going to have a rebellion. It's pretty much the case that we're going to have a rebellion either in Iwami or Nagato, because both of them have extremely low public order because of the religion thing, and we just have to choose which one we're going to keep with our main force. There's the thing that the rebellion is building. If we wait one more turn, they will rebel, but interestingly the Mori seem to move out towards us up here, so that's going to force our hand a little bit. We have to choose which castle to put our full stack in, and it's going to have to be Iwami now, because if the Mori want to attack, we need to be there. So we are going to hold this place down, and that means Eastern Nagato is now guaranteed to have a rebellion. We'll just have to deal with that, and hopefully the Mori interfering here won't stop us from going back to prevent the rebels taking over the castle. That would be annoying, but it's still better to have Iwami than Eastern Nagato, because it's still on the front line. It blocks enemy progress, so even if we do lose Nagato, it's not the end of the world. Doing a little trick there where we put the cavalry outside of the castle, that just means you get free garrison units spawning. It makes space in your army for the garrison to spawn if the castle is attacked, and the cavalry can quite easily run over to join the battle if needs be. Now with Mori moving north, Yoshishige is going to start sliding in from the west, because if the Mori do leave their province, we'll want to just attack it as soon as possible to try and bring them down. So we're just going to set up for that move right now. I didn't have all that much power. Having the ear of Lord Yoshiaki is more important than being his regent. Kyushu listens to him, and him alone. Come now, don't tell me everyone's fallen to his charms. They have. Everyone fears him, and would probably think of betrayal if it wasn't for the barbarians. Their teachings are eye-opening. You're Christian now, then? I wouldn't say that. It doesn't matter anyway. The point is, the barbarians support him, and the people support the barbarians. Things aren't so bad with what's happening in Honshu now. Keeping the war out of Kyushu is the best thing we can do. You mean keeping Yoshiaki out of Kyushu? No. Look, Yoshiaki is more than a sharp reputation. Look at his deeds, the military achievements. He is a hero, by any account. You'll struggle to find an account that says that, though. Maybe I'll spare a word for him, just for the sake of history. You're never going to set foot off this ship, are you? Not if I can help it, and it seems that I can. You should be happy if I understand your position correctly, for if I didn't rule the seas, there would be no hope for the Taken. What happens when Yoshiaki finds out? He knows. Yoshishige knows, and he'll have run to Daddy as soon as possible. But 3 decks of guns and the best sailors on the seas make you rather beyond criticism. The Matsuda come back once again asking for peace, and this time I am interested, because now that we have the Mori and the rebels to deal with, not having a potential invasion from Matsuda could be quite nice. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to get a trade agreement as well, since we'll make a tiny bit of money off this. I wanted to somehow screw them over and get a favourable deal, but even asking for a really tiny sum of money makes them reconsider the deal. When it says we might be able to come to an agreement or whatever it is, it means no. In Shogun 2's logic, they just have a distinct no state as well. So we got the peace deal in the end with nothing special going on there, so that is great. Now we did get the rebellion as predicted, and it's actually a faction rebellion. It's an Oichi revival rebellion. They want to recreate the clan. I can't quite get these reinforcements to garrison the nearby castle, so that's a little bit annoying. I was wondering whether our garrison would be able to hold against them. I can go back right now with the main force to fight them, but I don't really want to leave our frontline castle exposed. The Mori have gone back as well, so it might take them a couple of turns to get here. But if that rebel army runs away, it might also take me a couple of turns to go away, kill it wherever it ends up, and then walk back to the castle. So I didn't want to go back and fight it right now. I'm just going to leave it and see where it attacks. And we're going to put Yoshishige in an ambush position here. This might cause the Mori to go for Suo once again, like they were trying to do previously, and if that is the case, then Yoshiaki can swoop down and take the castle. One of them needs to swoop in and take the castle, hopefully, at some point. Now the rebels do go straight for the nearest castle, and it's a battle that's in their favour by the looks of things. We're going to have the defender's advantage. It's annoying that our reinforcements are outside the castle and they're not very good as well. If they were inside, that would actually be quite useful, but not being able to run drafted units across the map uphill without them being totally exhausted means we can't really use them as the fight starts anyway. So here's our setup. We're just going to defend the interior of the castle. We don't have enough troops to defend all of it. And we are fortunate in that the garrison has some good units in it, like Onobushi, so they'll provide some archery support. The enemy are mostly coming at us with Yari Ashigaru, but they've got a few archers in this western group, and that's where my reinforcements are as well, sneaking through the woods behind them. So they can't take on that group on their own, so at the very least they need to wait until some space is cleared so they could start advancing into the battle. They had more troops advancing from the south and another group coming in from the northeast. That was the first to arrive, and we're just letting them climb into the castle, and once they're inside we'll start hitting them with arrows. We've got this warrior nuns unit, which is like warrior monk archers basically, so they're pretty nice. They can use war cry to reduce enemy morale and stats whenever they're nearby, so we can use that to dampen the effect of their attack. And I'm also using Yari Wall. As you can see, I had previously claimed that you can't use this in Master of Strategy, but I realised it's actually a tech, so it's just something you can unlock rather than a default ability. So I have now unlocked it. This makes our Yari Ashigaru much more effective. It's mainly a thing that makes long Yari Ashigaru effective, but regular Yari Ashigaru do benefit from being in Yari Wall. At the very least they die slower. They tend to take fewer hits when they're in Yari Wall just because of how the animation setup works. So they'll hold on there for a long time, hopefully. Meanwhile, other units are just being pounded by our archers as they come in. They're taking routes that don't really take advantage of the fact I don't have many units to defend in melee, so that was nice. They're mostly clustering here on the eastern side. I'm going to use the war cry. It makes a really weird sound, and now you can see they're all debuffed. Some of them even climbed up to be next to our warrior monks, but they didn't want to fight them. so it reduces their morale, and I think their attack as well. We're starting to lose men here, even though the Yari wall is powerful, it's not all that powerful, it can't hold multiple enemy units at once like this. The long Yari Ashigaru wall can, and maybe they're in the game, I don't know if I've seen the ability to recruit long Yari Ashigaru, I think you might be able to later on. But anyway, we'll just hold on there. The enemy's big attack from the west side is starting now. This went quite well actually, because they had 3 units of archers, and what they could have done is just sit there firing at our Yari Ashigaru and forcing me to not defend this part of the castle, so they could climb right in and fight with our archers. Instead, I don't really know what they did, they just kind of ran about with the archers for a long time, eventually starting to come in with some spearmen to challenge our spears. I just want to lock them down so we can keep hitting them with arrows, and that's what's happening right here. They're charging into the Yari wall, doesn't really do anything, the Yari wall resists charges, so that's fine, and their archers will start doing the same thing as well. Now while that was happening, we got some good news. Our drafted Yari Ashigaru hit the enemy general, who just stayed way behind during the attack, so now we have a little bit of a chance to take him out.
Why do you fight for the tyrant Otomo? Why do you listen to the lies of the slavers? We have to fight to preserve our rights and to expel injustice from this land. No man should suffer a life under the heel of nanban. It is better to die with honor than live in service to disgraced men. Join me, brothers. Join me in storming this castle, and across the land 10,000 blades will be added to our cause. Steer Japan away from the brink of disaster. Desperate words from a rat doomed to burn for eternity. You would have us be your brothers in sin? Bah! Step down from your horse and face the truth with courage. You rich bastards have held us in the darkness forever. Not anymore, friend. I'll cut the devil's fingers off your soul, and Lord Otomo will do the same to the rest of you.
We get that general, and the enemy forces start to fall back en masse. It's a chain rout, they don't want to fight without their general. So we'll kill as many of them as we can on the way out, just to damage the enemy before things come to a quick end. A heroic victory for our garrison, and a couple of actual units in there as well. And since some of our losses will have been on the garrison, those are irrelevant because you get them back for free after the fight. The enemy army not actually destroyed, so the rebellion will now continue. We'll have to fight them again, but it's only going to be easier from here. And we can even garrison those drafted Ashigaru there just to make things a tiny bit easier. So as you may have noticed, the Mori still haven't done anything, so I'm going to try and bait them a bit harder. I'm putting a unit out in the open here with our main force under Yoshiaki hidden, so if they can see into the province, which we don't know necessarily that they can, I think the AI can see further than players can naturally just to help it out. So if they know that that's a potential good attack for them, they might make it. That's the plan there. Now we've also got Chikaharu coming in because our fleet's about to arrive. We'll just get rid of those Psycho boats who are blocking the way. They disappear off somewhere. So the question is, what do I do with him? I could just land him in the Mori territory, but he'd just be attacked and killed instantly. Or we can go off to the west and walk him up to the battlefront a bit more slowly. What I tried for now was just blockading the enemy port and seeing what happened, because if I make an attack, Chikaharu can then land right next to the enemy's castle and potentially take part in it pretty easily there. The rebels actually attacked us twice. This is the second time they attacked us after the battle we just fought, that is, and over those 2 auto-resolves they got themselves killed, so that was the end of the rebellion. Very good stuff for us, and that's going to make public order much better, along with this monk ranking up as well. Now we'll get the military crackdown bonus, so the people are now very happy to be ruled by us, or at least they aren't going to complain, and as the conversion to Christianity continues, they actually will become happy with being ruled by us. So again, no action from the Mori, so at this point we're going to have to just get things going, because if we can't finish off the Mori within a few turns, our peace treaty with the Matsuda will end, and we want to be in a perfect position to either receive their invasion if they plan one for when the treaty ends, or even make one ourselves as soon as the invasion ends. So we need to get this fight going. First, we besieged the Mori main force in their castle, a very powerful army indeed. I've got Chikaharu on land. I actually just took the boats over to the west to dump him in some ports so he could quickly walk over. He couldn't attack the army standing next to the castle, but fortunately Yoshiaki could come down from the north, attack this other army standing a bit more outside the castle, and draw that smaller one into the fight. So it seems that armies can stand in places that are impassable sometimes, in this mod at least, so that's why you can't always attack armies that are standing just outside castles. But fortunately in this case we could do that siege draw-out-esque tactic there to actually bring them down with an auto-resolve. So now Kikkawa comes in with his extra half a stack and we've got a pretty hefty siege going on now. Only problem is the enemy force inside is really good, and when we're adding that to the power they'll get from defending a castle, we don't want to make any kind of hasty attack here. Was it a relaxing break? I don't need it, Lord. Just sitting there hearing about the battles going on. Roosting the lords of Kyushu isn't as interesting, suffice to say. And what sort of clucking did you hear from them? All quiet, Lord. They didn't convince you of the merits of ruling the roost? My lord, no. You think they wanted me to betray you? I know it. Did they fail? Yes, Lord, of course. Good man. Then let's carry on making them jealous. There was no siege sally from the Mori like I had hoped. I'd hidden Chikaharu's force there to see if it would convince them to do it. So they don't want to try and break out and give us an easy battle. I brought up some reserves to add to Kikkawa's force, and now I'm thinking about making an attack. One of the main drawbacks to attacking an army like this is it does have high quality archers, and once they're up on walls they will just be annihilating us as we approach. Against Ashigaru archers that wouldn't be too much of a problem because our matchlocks outrange Ashigaru bows, but samurai bows shoot a tiny bit further, giving them the same amount of range as a matchlock. So we can't snipe the enemy down and weaken them before the battle starts, and in fact our matchlocks will be all but useless in a siege assault like this. However, I don't want to wait around and siege them out and give the Matsuda a chance to build up and perhaps get the drop on us here. I'm going to make this attack even though it may be difficult. The balance bar says it's going to be easy, and that's just because we have so many numbers. If we auto-resolve this, we would probably get a really good result and spread the losses among all the armies so that one turn later after replenishment we would get the castle for free, essentially. However, I know it's going to be a lot harder than it looks, so I'm going to be kind to the game and fight this one myself. Taking up arms to protest the Otomo occupation of Nagato and Suo proved to be a mistake, and the slaughter of those who made it set a firm example. The Otomo didn't lose battles, not to organised companies of samurai or to hastily equipped peasants under a rogue lord. The Otomo and their barbarian guests were not going anywhere, and for each day that passed, more people came to believe that it was in their best interests to obey both of these groups. Even war became nothing to complain about, for as long as there was war and prisoners of war, there was no need for the barbarians to conduct their particularly violent yet entirely legal abductions. It was the exact foundation of popular support that Yoshiaki needed. Thanks for watching everyone, and special thanks to the OfficiallyDevin patrons for making this video happen. We'll try out various strategies to bring down the Mori and return to unfinished business with the Matsuda in the next episode of Barbarian Masters.